I'm Captain Hoff, CEO of Founderspace, the leading global startup accelerator. I'm also author of the award-winning books, Make Elephants Fly, Surviving a Startup, and The 5 Forces. Selling ice to Eskimos. They have a saying, if you can sell ice to an Eskimo, you can sell anything. In this talk, I'm going to share with you what I have learned running 3 venture-funded startups and 2 bootstrap companies about how to sell and close deals. Rejection is good. When selling, you have to take your ego out of the process. And this means when you get rejected, you can't let it hurt you. I know because I'm naturally a shy person. And when I first went out to try and close deals, it was extremely hard. I mean, I got rejected all the time. And every time the person rejected me, I took it personally. I was like, oh, I'm not good enough. They don't like me. Whatever came into my head was actually negative. But if you're going to be a great salesperson, you can't say those negative things to yourself. It just becomes too painful. If you don't want to get rejected, you don't want to go out and sell, and therefore you're not a salesperson. Salespeople and rejection is part of the process. Part of the natural process of going out and selling is getting rejected over and over and over. So the sooner you can take this negative thing and make it into a positive thing, the better. How do you make rejection good? Well, let me tell you how I did it. Basically, I looked at every rejection. I started to look at them. Instead of them saying they don't like me, they don't like what I'm doing, they don't like what I'm saying, I'm screwing up, I'm not succeeding. Instead of looking at it that way, I looked at it as a positive thing. They're actually telling me something. When they reject, when they say no to what I'm offering, they're telling me that they don't want it for some reason. Now, it's my job to figure out why. What is the reason they are rejecting my offer to them? So instead of just walking away and feeling bad about it, what I do is I actually engage them. The rejection is your opportunity to work with them to figure out what they really want. Because real sales isn't about selling something somebody doesn't need. It's about actually figuring out who they are and what they really need, and can you give that to them? Now, if you can't give that to them, they're the wrong customer. So you've learned something. This person isn't really the right person to buy your product. So who is the right person? That is the journey you're on. You're on a journey of discovery, and every rejection gets you closer to figuring out who's the right customer, how do you approach them, what do they need, all the different things you need so that they can understand your product. And when somebody understands your product, if it's something they need, they will buy it. I will tell you, you don't have to say anything to them. You don't have to trick them into it because that's what they need. They want it. So for me, the big leap I made was questioning people. When I got a rejection, I would look at them and I would say, can you explain to me why you don't want this product? And then I would start to listen very carefully to what they were telling me. Some of those things, they might have misunderstood what I said. So I could have explained it in a better way. Other things were their own personal things, things about them that I needed to understand. Maybe they needed approval from their boss. Maybe there was some situation I didn't know about. Or maybe in the end, they just weren't the right person for this particular product. All those things then I took with me and made me better and better and better at selling the product I was selling. Remember, rejection is good. Qualify your leads. When you go out to sell, one of the most important things you can do at the start is to qualify your leads. This means figure out of all these people approaching you, who are the best ones that you should invest your time in. When you are selling, it's about investing your time and energy in the right people. If you spend all your time trying to sell people who aren't really a right fit for your product or have a very low chance of buying, then you are wasting your time. You will never be a great salesperson. The really, really good salespeople are actually very selective. They don't talk to anybody who walks in the door. In fact, they look for just the right people and spend all their time on the right people because they know that those leads will turn into big deals. First of all, a really smart startup, when they are out there marketing, they are gathering lots of leads. So they are putting up ads, they have their storefront, their brand, whatever it is, they are getting leads. People are coming to them and inquiring about the product. Well, not all these people are serious buyers. So the first thing as a salesperson you need to do is set up a funnel where you filter out these people. You can do it with online forms to see if they're really serious. You can do it by email, or response on an instant messenger, asking them questions. Are they ready to buy now? Do they have the money? What are they really looking for? All of these things, what problems do they have? You need to get information from them and then start to use this information to say, wow, this target is really important. This person or this company, they're going to spend a lot of money. They really need what we have, and they have a big budget, and they are a prime customer. I should put a lot of energy into them. And this person out there, they're probably not likely to buy. And this other person, they're likely to buy, but it's a really small sale. So qualifying each of the leads and then ranking them in priority is key to becoming a great salesperson. Because really, you only want to focus on the top, the deals that are going to be the biggest. A lot of times, one big deal can be worth 100 little deals. Yet the big deal doesn't take 100 times longer to close. That's the key. And if you're out there just talking to random people, then surely you're wasting your time. Never do that. Always qualify your leads. Know your product. As a salesperson, you should know your product inside and out. You should know everything about your product. But you would be surprised. I meet people all the time who are trying to sell me something and they don't even know what they're really selling. They haven't really studied it. They don't, if I ask them questions, they often don't even have the answer. A great salesperson is someone who spends time figuring out every detail of their product, and not just their product, but how does their product compare to the competitors? Why is it better? What does it do better? What are the little things about their product that make it superior? That the things that attract customers, things that the people who use their product love. If you don't know these things, you can't communicate these things. And these are the gems. These are the things that get customers to actually make the decision, yes, I want to buy this. Yes, I need this. Yes, this is the best product in, quality-wise, whatever it is. Now, let me tell you a story. One of the greatest car salesmen in the world, what he did when he went out to sell was he didn't rush through the sale. He knew everything about his car. He loved those model cars, and he would take the customer on a journey through all the amazing features of the car, showing them every little thing that they had thought out to make that car superior to other cars. And almost invariably, by the time he was done going through everything, the person bought the car because his passion and his knowledge and his attention to detail in showing them exactly why that car was superior, why that car was the car they needed, that communicated to them. He knew that product. So whatever your product is, there is no excuse for you not knowing every nut, bolt, and little tiny thing about that product. You should look. Whether your product is software, whether it's hardware, whether it's food, you should know everything about it. If it's food, you should know all the ingredients, where those ingredients came from, what quality ingredients they are, why it's superior, how it was made, everything. Whatever product it is, you need to go back, because if you're talking to the customer and you're taking them through, we manufacture it this way, we do it this way, we take special care when we do this. By the time you're done, you have painted a picture in their mind of something that is amazing. This is why great salespeople sell, because they really know their products. Stand out. It's no accident that some of the greatest salespeople in the world stand out. They're unique. They're interesting. You want to be around them. You remember them. Even when they've walked away, even months later, you remember those people. So don't just be like everybody else. When you go out to sell, what about you can stand out? How can you be different from the dozen other salespeople that walked in the door the past month? Why would they want to spend time with you? A lot of salespeople who are really good, they are performers, right? They know when they go in there to sell, it can be boring for the customer. So they make it fun. They do little things that make the customer remember them. There was one salesperson. He was obsessed with selling. So what he did is he became one of the top salespeople in the world by the simple technique of always following up with a handwritten card for every birthday, every holiday, for every one of his customers. A handwritten card. He remembered them. They remembered him. He stood out in their mind. He kept that relationship, and they always came back to this salesperson. When you are selling, it can be anything. I know people who dress a certain way. They dress a way that is really interesting. So people will remember them. They aren't just like all the other salespeople. If everybody's wearing a suit, they don't wear a suit. So they look different. They wear something that they feel people will relate to them, understand them, makes them unique, makes them a person. When you go out to sell, your performance matters too. You don't want to give another boring performance, a PowerPoint like everybody else gives. When you go out to sell somebody, you want to make it engaging, interactive, something that they can remember. Can you bring your product along? Can you have them play with it? Do you have funny stories to tell about it? Do you have visuals, audio visual to make it really exciting? How can you make the experience fun? Can you take them somewhere? Can you take your customer somewhere that relates to your product? Maybe into the factory. So instead of just sitting in a conference room, you're like on the factory floor, you're showing them how it's made, you're showing them the parts, or take them into your laboratory if you're a biotech company and have it produced like a show for them where you actually take them and you show them the little things and you're teaching them and they're learning about your product, about your company, about how you think, about how your philosophy. What makes you different? What makes your company different? Are you donating money to charity? Are you working with the community? These things, bring them into your presentation. So when they see you not just as another salesperson. They see you as someone different, someone unique, someone who they want to do business with. Always, when you are selling, stand out. Bring them a gift. You would be amazed at how much difference it can make to give a small gift in closing a big deal. It all comes down to psychology. Human beings are social animals. We follow rules of society without even thinking about it. And one of those rules is called reciprocity. When someone comes up and gives us a gift, most likely we will feel obligated to give something back to them. This is the principle of reciprocity, and you can use it to your advantage when closing sales. Let me tell you a personal story. I was working in an office, and one of my coworkers, she comes around and she gives me a little cupcake. Wow, this was so nice. So I ate the cupcake, really tasty, and I was thankful. Later in the day, she comes around again, but this time she asked me if I can buy a lottery ticket to help support her daughter's summer camp. It's a raffle. It's a ticket for a raffle so I could win a prize. Now, I don't care about the prizes, and I don't even care about her daughter's summer camp. But since she gave me that little cupcake, I felt obliged to at least buy a few tickets. So I did, and so did everybody else in the office. I will tell you, when you are going out to your customers, it never hurts to bring them a small gift. Now, the size of the gift and the value of the gift is less important than the fact that you give it. You can be closing a multi-million-dollar deal, and bringing people a little bottle of wine can make a huge difference. It's a small gift in compared to the multi-million-dollar deal, but the fact that you picked out a special wine for them, you thought about it, and you're giving it to them, that in their psychology can change how they act. Now, in many airports around the world, the Hare Krishnas, the religious group, use this tactic. They will go up to people who they want to listen to their talk about their religion. But instead of just asking them to listen, most people would say, no thanks, and walk away. They give them a flower, a small flower. These people, they get a flower. And you know what? More likely than not, because they got this flower that they didn't want, they don't care about, but they got this flower, they feel obligated to listen to what the person is saying. Now, most people, when they're done, throw away the flower the Hare Krishnas gave them. But if you actually look at the Hare Krishnas, they will walk around the airport and collect the flowers out of the trash and use them again. People didn't want the flowers, they even threw them out, and they're still using them because they work. So, when you're out there selling, always think about bringing your customers a gift. Close a small deal first. Often, when you are trying to close a large deal, it helps to close a small deal first. Why is this? Well, because small deals are easier to close. They're usually faster, less paperwork. You can get them done quickly. Large deals, especially with large companies, can move very slowly. There are a lot of people involved. There are a lot of moving parts. You have to get approvals. There's a process. All of this can take forever. And at any point while you're waiting, they can decide to go with a competitor. They might decide they don't want the deal. They don't need it. So it's really important to actually get them to commit early. Now, I'm not talking about getting them to commit to the whole deal. I am talking about getting them to commit to something, to some sort of relationship with you. So when I'm out there with my big deals, I actually break them up into pieces. I break them up into stages. Can we do a little bit of the deal first? Sometimes, if possible, I'll get them to pay for it. Because when they pay, you're signing an agreement. You can do it quickly. It gets done. But other times, when that isn't an option, I'll just make it free. I want them to commit. I want them to say yes. And a lot of the time, if you make it simple enough, they can say yes right now. They can do the deal right now, and you can then start to build a relationship. You have to remember that when closing a big deal, your customers may not know you that well, or they may feel uncomfortable with your capabilities, or they may have other issues that they have to sort out. So actually starting working on a small piece first helps you build a relationship, build trust, get the process going. And then, more often than not, when they psychologically commit to you, what they're doing is they usually stop talking to the competition because they become focused on you. Even if it's just a little piece, you're working with them, it becomes very hard for them to say later, oh, we don't want to work with you, we went with another party. Usually they just end up focusing on you. So it's really a good strategy, whenever closing a larger deal, to break it down into pieces and close a small deal first. Begin with the best. When you're meeting a customer for the first time, always show them the best you have to offer. Show them the premium model, the one with all the bells and whistles, the deluxe features. This is what you want them to see for their initial impression, because it shows you the potential, everything you have to offer. Later, you can always show them the inferior models, the ones with less features. But honestly, even if you know they cannot afford this, it's just way beyond their price range, it's better to start there. Why? Well, let me tell you. First of all, you never know. They may be able to afford it. You would be surprised. When people see something they really want, somehow the money materializes and they get it to you. So starting with the best it gives you that opportunity for them to say, yes, I want this. I have to have this. And if they really can't afford it, when you show them a cheaper model, they'll think it's a bargain. Wow, this company that makes great stuff I've been so impressed with, I can actually get it for much cheaper. Yeah, I can live without those deluxe features because this is a really good deal. So what you're doing is setting their psychology. You're setting their expectations and desires at a really high level. And then you're coming in lower and often meeting them halfway where they feel like, wow, you've given me something that I can get for my price range from a great company whose products I aspire to have. Always begin with the best. Talk about what matters. When you're engaging a customer, you should know in advance what matters to them. Not what matters to you, not what you think matters, but what they care about. That is what you should focus on right away. And if you don't know that in advance, you need to figure it out very quickly. When in doubt, my rule is don't make small talk. A lot of salespeople will go in and they'll start talking about the weather, the baseball game, some other random fact that me as a customer, I don't care about. I don't want to talk to them about that. They're not my friend. I know they're trying to sell me something, so their small talk just feels artificial. It doesn't work. Honestly, as a good salesperson or a great salesperson, you need to figure out right away what matters to your customer. And if you don't know, then just be honest and dive right into it. Because when a salesperson is approaching me, the one thing I want to know is, what are you selling? Am I even interested? So don't ramble on about other things. Just tell me what you're trying to sell me. Because I know you're trying to sell me something, and I just want to figure it out so I can say yes or no. And whether we like the same baseball team, whether we come from the same hometown, those aren't going to make a big difference in whether I say yes or no to this thing you're trying to sell me right now. Keep that in your mind, because I've seen it all too often. People will go and they will just start talking about stuff that doesn't even matter to the customer. And you know what the customer's doing? All they're thinking of is, when can I get out of here? When can I get out of here? And that's exactly what you don't want them to be thinking. You want them to be engaged with you. So the first things you may do is actually start to ask them questions. Instead of just rambling on, figure out from them, hey, do you have a problem? What is your problem? Is it aligned with what our solution is? If it's not, you're wasting your time and you're wasting their time. If it is, then you can start to talk to them about how your product or service solves their needs. Remember, a product or service may do a lot of different things, right? It could do a number of different things. You, trying to sell them what you have, could do a lot of things for them, but maybe only one or two of them are really on their list of important things. And if you're talking about the other 9 or 10 things your product can do, they're becoming bored. They're becoming impatient. They're going to turn off and stop listening to you. So figure out as soon as you can, what are those 1 or 2 things they care about, and laser focus on those. Don't waste a lot of time. In the end, it doesn't matter if they love you as a person. It doesn't matter if you share common friends. What really matters is that you are coming to them with a solution that meets their needs. That is why people buy stuff more than anything else in the world. Yes, if they like you and other things and they still need it, they may buy from you rather than somebody they don't like. But at first, when you're first engaging them, you need to make sure the needs match up. And you do that by talking about what matters. Slow down. A lot of times, people will come up to me and they'll want to sell me something, and they'll just start talking. They'll go brrr and talk. And they haven't even figured out if I'm even interested in what they're showing me. And I feel like I'm being put upon. That is not a dynamic you want. When you engage with customers, remember to slow down. Give the customer time to talk. Give the customer time to think. Give the customer, most importantly, time to ask you questions. Remember, if they're asking you questions, they're engaged. Your goal by slowing down is actually giving them a chance to interject and say, what about this? Or could you show me that? Remember, you should be showing the customer what the customer is interested in. It's not your job to race through your presentation and get all that information out. The information doesn't matter. What matters is that they're engaged every step of the way. We've all heard the expression, fast talking salesperson. You know, the salesperson that go, blah, 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 blah. That is a negative. Nobody likes a fast talking salesperson. What you want is a salesperson who cares about you, who's taking the time to listen to you, who's taking the time to understand your needs. And you can only do this if you slow down. Focus on helping. The greatest salespeople I have ever met are not trying to sell me something. In fact, they are doing the opposite. They are trying to help me find what I need. Now, if this matches what they have, then they will naturally want to sell me that. But they are trying to help me figure that out as quickly as possible. When you're out there doing sales, remember, if you keep in mind that my job as a salesperson is to help my customers, it's not to make money from them, it's not to take from them, it's actually to give to them, you will be so much more effective. The really good, talented salespeople are the ones who are always looking for ways to help their customer. If they see that their product isn't a good match for their customer, they will just say it. This isn't a good match. You could do better elsewhere, honestly. And you know what? The customer then begins to trust them. Wow, they told me it wasn't even a good match. You know, I actually want to work with them again in the future, if ever possible, because they're somebody I could trust. They're not just trying to get my money. They're actually trying to make sure that I make the right decisions, especially in big, complex sales. It's all about trust, building relationships, helping one another, going out of your way to do things for your customer that your customer needs that might not even be in the scope of what you're supposed to be doing is a great way to build that relationship. Giving is getting, right? When you are a salesperson, the more you give to your customers, the more you can provide to them. In return, in the long run, the more you will get back. And psychologically, if you are constantly thinking, not how I can make more money off them, but how I can give them more value, give them better service, make them happier, allow them to succeed, you will be a far better salesperson. Make your product come to life. One of the important things that great salespeople do is they breathe life into their products. They make them come alive. Remember, a product isn't just what it does. A product is what it is. Is it beautiful? What about this product is so special? Why do people care about this product? Can you make it real for people? Can you make it tangible? You know, show them visuals, great visuals of your product. But better than that, show them people using your product. How do people use it? What do they use it for? Capture video of other customers explaining why they need the product, what it does for them, how it changes their life. Making your product come alive will allow people to actually see themselves using it, to actually understand the real underlying value. Really good salespeople spend a lot of time crafting their presentation. And they aren't just boring PowerPoint presentations that kind of go through the numbers. They are amazing. They actually take whatever they're selling and they make it real. A lot of times there's videos in there. Sometimes they'll bring the products in so that the customer can touch them, feel them, smell them. You know, if they're food, even taste them. Whatever you can do to make your product more alive, more rich, more real to your customer, do it. The closer your customer can get to actually using your product while you're giving the sales pitch, it enables them to actually make the leap into feeling comfortable buying it. This is why when you go to a car lot, you go there to drive the car, to sit in the car, to smell the new car smell, to see all the features, to touch and feel it. That's what gets you excited about buying that car. If you are selling anything, I don't care if it's a robot, I don't care if it's a new food technology, whatever it is, even software, get people hands-on with it. Let them try it. Let them interact with it. The more you can do this, the better your chance of closing the deal. Lean back. One strategy that works really well for selling is to lean back, to relax, not to be forward, not to be pushing your customer. If you push, people tend to pull away. They're like, why are you pushing me to buy this? Nobody wants a pushy salesperson. People want people who are relaxed about it. When I go out to sell, I always tell myself, it doesn't matter if they buy this or not. They're going to make whatever decision they make. And that relaxes me. It allows me to be more laid back when I'm selling. I will tell you, I've had people come and try to sell me stuff. And the pushy ones, I'm almost always saying no. But those that come and they show me and they're more relaxed and like they know their product is great. So if I want it, they let me come to them. More often than not, I will be the one following them, chasing them down to get the product. That is always a better way. Think about it. Sales is like dating. It's like going on a date. If you're pushing and pushing the other person, they don't like it. But if you're more laid back, if you're confident in yourself, and you know the other person will come to you. Human psychology. Lean back, close more deals. Admit you don't know. There are times when you're selling a product where you just don't know the answer. A lot of times, the products are really complex. They're really technical. And the person buying from you, the customer, may know more about the software or the car or the robot than you do because they're an engineer and you might not be. So the key is not to lie. A lot of salespeople feel pressured to know everything. So they'll make something up or they'll try to BS it. Don't do this. Do not resort to that. If they are asking you a question and you really don't know the answer, just tell them, I don't know, but I will find out. And you write it down. Make sure you understand their question. Capture it all and then follow up with them right away. Literally, like the next day or even the same day. It's much better for you to admit you don't know than not to tell the truth. Body language is really important. You have to remember that when you are selling, people aren't just listening to you. They are looking at you. And they aren't just looking at your face. They're looking at your whole body. So keep track of this. Remember that how you express yourself, how you talk is all communication. You should study your own body language. You should videotape yourself making sales and watch what you do. See what seems natural, what is more effective. Look at the person you're selling to. What are they responding to? This is really important. It's not just about communicating information verbally. It's not just about what's in the PowerPoint. It's about you, how you stand, how you sit, how you cross your arms or leave your arms open. By the way, it's better to have open arms than crossed arms. You know, how you cross your legs. All of this is communicating to whomever you are selling. They are taking in this information, whether on a conscious level or subconscious level. It's still impacting them and will impact their decision of whether to do the deal with you, whether they trust you, whether they like you, whether there's some sort of chemistry or not. Never leave without a next step. When selling, the most important thing is to make sure the process is moving forward, that it doesn't stall. So if you're doing a big, complex sale, which is often the case, there are many, many steps towards closing that deal. What you need to understand is what those steps are. What can the person you're working with reasonably do right now? And you need to get that commitment before you leave the room. So every time you engage with the customer and you're moving them down a path towards closing a deal, make sure you know the next reasonable step. If you pick a step they can't do, they'll say no. Reasonable step, get them to commit to that, and then follow up. That gives you an anchor, something to move towards. Also have dates attached. Not just that they commit to the next step, but when will they have it? When can you two get to this next step together so that you can move beyond that? That is key in closing deals. Know your bottom line. When closing deals, it's really important to understand what your bottom line is before you even start talking to the customer. The reason is, if you don't know your bottom line, you may just wind up losing money on the deal. I've seen this. I see salespeople. They go into meetings a lot of times to close a deal and they get pushback. So they start compromising. They start lowering the cost or promising things that they hadn't talked to their boss or their coworkers or their partners about. And they end up offering a deal that's actually a money loser. You don't want to be in this position. It might be a money loser, or it might take too much time, or you just start making promises you can't keep, the company can't keep. This is a bad habit. When selling, you never want to go into a deal without knowing exactly the terms you expect. Yes, you may get a better deal than you thought you would, but you don't want to get a worse deal. And that requires planning, foresight, and preparedness. You need, when going into any negotiation, an understanding of what your customer, what they can afford, and what you can deliver. You need to know the specs on these. Can you go a step further for them, or can you not? Because if you're going to promise something to them that you can't deliver, it's a disaster. It's a disaster for your relationship. It's a disaster for the deal. And you may have to end up, refunding a large portion of their money, or the whole deal may just fall apart. So my advice to you, always know your bottom line before you enter into negotiations. Never chase losers. There are some deals that look good at the beginning. It seems like a perfect fit. But as you go along, as you figure things out, you discover there are problems. These things actually don't go together. What you have, your solution, it won't work for them. As soon as you figure this out, cut it off. End that deal. It's not going to work. No matter what you do, no matter how much energy and time you invest in it, you probably cannot change it. There are certain things you just can't change. So don't keep investing time. In the same way, if you're engaged with a customer and you figure out they're never going to really buy from you, the chance is really small, but you've already invested a huge amount of time and resources into closing this deal. You may have told your boss or other people, your board of directors, that this deal is closing. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you did in the past. As soon as you recognize that it doesn't have a high chance of closing, you have to cut it off. You have to move on. This is what I mean. There are loser deals out there that suck up so much of your time. Sometimes the customer is just the pain. They actually cause you pain because they demand so much. I've had partners out there, people I've worked with, and I've seen them bending over backwards to please this customer. And I told them, that's a loser deal. Just cut it off. Cut off that relationship. It's not worth it. And they're like, no, I can make this work. I can make this work. And honestly, in the end, it never works. And all they do is waste a lot more time and a lot more resources on it. So remember, when you are out there closing deals, if it's a loser, don't chase it. Always experiment. When you are selling, always try new things. Don't just get in the habit of giving the same sales pitch over and over again. Too many salespeople, they get their pitch, it works reasonably well, and then they stick with it. They never change. Why? A lot of times because they're lazy. It takes work to change. Also because they're not creative, or they don't know that if they actually experimented, tried different things, they could do it better. I will tell you, no matter how great your sales pitch is, no matter how effective it is, you can do better. It can always be better. The really talented, the top salespeople are constantly improving their pitches. That's how they got so good. They started at a normal level or even a subnormal level. They were even poor salespeople, but they kept improving. They kept working at it. They kept trying new things, variations. Well, if I say this instead of this, what's the effect? If I show them this before I show them that, do they actually buy it? Experimentation is the key. Online, they have software now, AI software, where you come to a page to buy something and they're measuring everything you do. The good e-commerce sites are always doing A/B testing. If I do this with the customer and then this, which one gets a higher sell-through rate? You should be using those same methodologies in your sales pitches. When you go out to a customer every time, you should be doing A/B tests, testing one thing against something else you tried and starting to get a sense for what's really working. And remember, when selling, there are so many things you can do, so many differences you can make. You may think there's only one or two ways to sell your product, but honestly, there's an infinite number. You just haven't tried them. Go out there and practice. Practice saying things a different way and go to other salespeople. Start learning their techniques. I guarantee you there are techniques out there, many more techniques than I'm showing you here right now today. But there are a lot of techniques out there for selling, and different techniques work well in different situations and with different people. So trying these techniques, applying them, adapting them to what you're doing can yield huge results. Always keep experimenting. Optimism conquers all. I will tell you, the one thing all great salespeople have in common, the one trait they all possess above anything else, is optimism. They are optimistic people. They believe they can close the deal. They believe that they are good salespeople. They believe that the future will bring them much more than the past. If you don't have this mindset, it's really hard to be excellent at your job, especially in sales. Sales is about optimism. It's about making things happen. It's about making sometimes the impossible possible. This is what it takes. This is the psychology of the really top salespeople. And you can become more optimistic. You know, certain people are born with so much optimism. They see the world, they always see the bright side, the half full cup, the half full bottle. But for you, who are you? You have to ask yourself this. And if you are not the optimistic type, but you still need to sell, then you need to work on yourself. You need to work on training yourself to look at the positive side. Look at the things that are good. Look at the things you can do, not what you can't do. Look at your successes, not your failures. Look at the ways around an obstacle, not the obstacle itself. Optimism wins in the end. Great salespeople have to maintain this optimism, even when things get really hard, even when customers start saying no, even when the economy takes a downturn and it becomes really difficult. If you can't remain optimistic, it's hard to have the energy and the passion and everything else to go out there and sell and sell and sell and keep doing it. Optimism beats everything. I hope you enjoyed the talk. If you liked it, you can come to founderspace.com. You can check out our latest events, contact us, and see my latest books, Make Elephants Fly, Surviving a Startup, and The 5 Forces. You can also find me on all the major social networks. Just search for Founders Space.